how I feel when I hear that gospel. Take my lips and speak through them. Take our ears and hear through them. Take our hearts and set them on fire with love for thee. May I speak in the name of the living God. Amen. Amen. Large crowds were following Jesus. He was the latest thing, literally a roadside attraction, popular. If we'd been there, we probably would have suggested, taking a poll to make sure things stayed that way. Check out what's trending, what topics he should highlight, and which ones to avoid. Let's not put people off, Lord, feet under the seat, keep those numbers up. But instead, Jesus turns to the crowd and says, whoever comes to me and does not hate father, mother, wife, and children, brothers, sisters, even life itself, cannot be my disciple. You can feel the stunned silence as they all draw back. Was he just wanting to see whether they were paying attention? He's got my attention. Maybe he wanted to weed out fair weather followers. Jesus isn't using hate here the way we use it. As in, I hate you, followed by a slamming door. It's actually a provocative way of calling for detachment, for letting go, not having undue regard for something. Families are important, but families can get in the way of discipleship. Roman family and civic worship involved burning incense to idols, to the emperor. It was strictly forbidden for Jesus and for the Jews who followed him. It makes, as Moses makes plain in the reading from Deuteronomy this morning, if you are led astray to bow down to other gods, I declare today that you shall perish. And I don't imagine, for that matter, that Israelite parents were probably all that thrilled to have their kids hanging out with tax collectors and sinners, even if they were with the latest celebrity rabbi. I used to find this passage about hating your family so alienating, and I was, in my inimitable style, telling my friend this with great vigor years ago, until as I paused for breath, and he said, I love it. It's one of my favorite passages. And all I can say, it's a good thing he was driving at the time, because I would have just taken us right off the road. He said, this isn't for you and your family as part of your faith. This isn't written for you. This was written like when I was going to come out to my parents and I didn't know how they'd react. And I was worried about it. And it really consoled me that Jesus says so plainly, what I think about you is more important than what your family thinks about you. I am the sole arbiter of you and your value and your worth, no one else. Oh. Well, it's kind of a relief, isn't it? It's what I call an audience of one. Remember who you're trying to please. Not each other. Not even me, although please. An audience of one. Jesus was a man on a mission answerable to an audience of one. He was on his way to the cross. Now, the crowd thought, they were in a parade to empire and glory. But Jesus was never into hanging on to hangers-on. He wasn't interested in filling the pews. He wanted disciples who were willing to carry their cross. Because he knew where faith could lead. He was speaking from experience. He himself had left home, job, and family to have nowhere to lay his head. What if the same happens to you, he says? What if following me brings you into conflict with your family, as it did for St. Francis? What if following me brings you into conflict with your job, as it did for Amos? I'm not a prophet, nor a prophet's son, said Amos. I am a herdsman and a dresser of sycamore trees, and the Lord took me from following the sheep. What if following me upends your plans like it did for my mother? How can this be, since I am a virgin? What if it risks your life? Like anybody, I would like to live, said Martin Luther King Jr. Have you estimated the cost of building this tower? Are you a king with 10,000 up against an army of 20,000? Can you win this war? The lessons for today are about commitment. They call us to make decisions. Moses says to the people in Deuteronomy this morning, I set before you this day life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life. And Jesus says similarly, are you students of mine or just people who attend my lectures? Are you in it to win it or simply hangers on? Are you willing to do what it takes to trust God enough to love what God commands? That's the question behind Paul's letter to his friend and co-worker Philemon in the epistle to Philemon read today. Paul is asking Philemon to give up his claim to his runaway slave Onesimus. Slavery was common in ancient times. It wasn't race-based. People could be sold into slavery or they could just, lose a battle. Onesimus had stolen money from Philemon and taken off to Rome, where he found Paul in prison for Christ. Paul converted Onesimus, and he became very useful to Paul, who called him his child and my own heart. And Paul wanted Onesimus to stay with him, but he first had to sort out this problem between Philemon and Onesimus because the church was small, and you couldn't get away with that. So Paul could have commanded Philemon as an ambassador in chains for Christ, but instead, he offers to repay whatever Onesimus might owe and asks Philemon to act out of his love and faith for Christ of his own free will. Receive him like a brother. We know Philemon did, because later, when Paul writes to Philemon's community in the letter to the Colossians, he refers to Onesimus in passing as the faithful and beloved brother who is one of yourselves, meaning a member of the church there. Now Philemon, upon getting this letter from Onesimus' hot and sweaty hand, could have taken an interior poll and said, you know what? Yeah, my love for Christ, that's a Sunday morning thing. I mean, that does not apply to my Monday to Saturday business and personal life. But he didn't. He was a student of Christ, a disciple. It means one who is taught. And in Paul's voice, he heard Christ's call to justice and to reconciliation and to beginning again, and he acted in accordance with it. This year, the theme for the season of creation is listen to the voice of creation. Something we're getting a head start on as we gather outside today, listening to the insects and the birds and the wind in the trees with our dogs alongside us and the good earth beneath our feet. As people of faith, nature is more to us than a physical reality. It is the creation of a loving God, a vast web of creatures and ecosystems of land and air and sea, an ecumenical meeting place, if there ever was one, where we all from every tribe and language and people and nation can come together as stewards. Every day there are opportunities to listen to the voice of creation, to notice our impact, to increase our awareness so we can choose life-giving things. And all of them are significant, no matter how small. For instance, instead of throwing all our waste into a landfill, we can choose to reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. Many of us who went to the Clean Ocean Access composting event, Healthy Soils, Healthy Seas, held here in the parish hall this spring, signed up to compost. You can start smaller or you can start bigger. Crazy idea. Ask God to help you connect your faith in God to your love of creation. And don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Everything helps. Drive less, walk more. Ask yourself, do I need to print out this document? tend a garden, pick up a piece of trash, turn off the lights when you leave the room. That drove my mother crazy. She'd follow you around, snip, snip, snip. Turn off the water when you brush your teeth, when you wash your dishes. Smell the flowers. Watch the leaves turn. Listen to the waves roll. And pray for creation. Pray for it. Enter into relationship with it, with God. Appreciate its wonders. And pray for its distress. Learn about this fragile earth, our island home, and how we can change our practices so that they align better with the earth's needs and what it needs to heal and to flourish. Jeremiah said, seek the welfare of the city, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. How much more true is that of creation? Seek the welfare of creation, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. Advocate for the vulnerable. Much of the earth's ecological devastation is caused by governments and world economies. It's bigger than us. So speak up. Listen to creation and then vote. Vote for the love of God. Then, for the love of God, speak up. Speak up for those creatures that have no words. Speak up whatever way we can for the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Christ of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. Amen.
Amen.